Welcome back to what is probably the jankiest of setups. Well, that vibration made a lot of noise. Speaking of noise, when it comes to gear, there's a lot of noise, a lot of talk about what's the best camera, the most optimal, which perfect camera for you, perfect camera for every film photographer. And considering the fact that film cameras were made and are still being made for the past over 100 years, it's only inevitable that some of them will fall through the cracks. Especially when you get into medium format. Cameras that weren't exactly mass marketed. Chances are, if you look up best 6x7 camera, you're going to see Pentax 6x7 line of cameras, the Mamiya RB and RZ, the Mamiya 7 rangefinder cameras. Hell, I've seen lists that have highlighted large format reducer backs before even mentioning today's camera, the Bronica GS-1. For those unacquainted, the Bronica GS-1 was released in 1983 and rounded off Bronica's line of medium format cameras. The 645 ETRSI. The GS-1 line of cameras had a number of features, one such being the Seiko Zero shutter, a one-up to Mamiya. I believe that was intentionally done by Bronica, enabling the camera to shoot at 1/500th of a second. A one-up to Mamiya, whose RB and RZ lines could only shoot at 1/400th. Considering the GS1 features a leaf shutter, as you all know, that enables it to flash sync at all speeds, if that's what you're into. The GS1 is a system camera, meaning the entire camera is able to be disassembled and reconfigured to the shooter's liking. Film backs are interchangeable, 120 or 220. The camera body, which features the brains and the mirror box. The lens, which features the aforementioned shutter. The finder, or viewfinder. In my case, my example, I have a rotary finder, which enables quick changes in orientation from portrait to landscape. Very useful, especially against the RB's rotating back system. Makes the camera much smaller, the GS1 that is. As well as optional accessories, I have the speed grip here. There was also a flash that came with the camera that affixes to the speed grip. Circling back to the lenses, 9 were released for the GS1 line, though not a lot. Bronica did cover all the bases. I personally have shot with the featured 50 f4.5, a 28 approximately equivalent, the 110 macro f1 f4, a 50 equivalent, and the 150 f4, a fantastic portrait lens. All these lenses are incredibly sharp, a fact aided by the incredibly large negatives that this system produces. Using a fine-grained film like T-Max with this camera yields incredible results, not just because of fine grain or massive negatives, but because the camera's internal meter is incredible. My GS1 has never led me wrong as far as exposure goes. The meter, which is included in the finder, has features like exposure lock and spot and average scene metering, which, if you don't know what those do, you probably shouldn't be buying a medium format camera. That being said, if you do have one, you should experiment with how these features affect your photography, as they can make or break a shot if used improperly. The focusing screen or ground glass on the camera is incredibly clear and easy to focus with. It is a matte screen, which is not my preference, and if it's yours, how is the view on that high horse? I'm sure you're fun at parties. I did find a source for split prisms. I can link that below. I do not believe that Bronica released one, at least not one that I could find. However, I do believe that could affect metering. To what degree, I don't know, as I never experimented with it. but I believe there is forum discussions addressing it somewhere. The important part here is, how the hell is it to use this camera? How does it feel? On one hand, it's a pleasure. On the other, it is a pain. The GS1 is big. Smaller than an RB or an RZ, which I have compared side by side to. However, I do believe it is bigger than a Pentax 6.7, a camera I haven't gotten a good enough look at to say for certain. Though ergonomically, with the speed grip, it's a similar experience, just a bit more back and front heavy than top heavy without a side grip. It's not the same, though it is an SLR. I think it's hard to effectively communicate this, but there's a lot of glamorization of using a big film camera. These cameras weren't made, though, for the types of uses that people demonstrate. Hikes, photo walks, street photography. Having this camera hanging on your neck or in your hand weighs on you. This setup right here weighs just around 5 pounds. It's an arm workout just holding it for this video. My preferred setup with the GS1 was to have it on a strap on my neck with a camera clipped in on a capture clip or equivalent on my backpack. I used a brevity jumper, which allowed for a little side pocket where I could grab the 110 or the 150 depending on the day or the shoot, and quick swap lenses. If it was a portrait session, I probably wouldn't be bringing the 50. Albeit, typically, if I was bringing the backpack, I had all of the lenses for the system. Regardless, this is a lot of camera to bring around with you. It's 5 pounds sitting on your neck. So you're going to switch to holding the grip and just dangling the strap. And then it's 5 pounds in your arm. And it's 5 pounds in the other arm. And then you're back and forth, putting it on your neck. Switching to the 35. It hangs. It's not a very ergonomic experience. Hiking or moving with this camera. That being said, the ergonomics are very satisfying. It's very rewarding to shoot. That mirror slap is just something special. I do think that this camera is sort of an apex of the 80s era of mechano-electric design and cameras. The body's of a really high quality build with a die-cast alloy manufacturing magic that they put into it to make it feel both heavy and light and high quality, but also kind of plasticky. It is a camera from the 80s. It's not going to be a brick like your Nikon Fs, but it's also not brittle plastic like your 90s cameras are going to be. But that weight, it weighs on you. I took this camera out on an engagement shoot, 90-degree day, humid July here in central PA. The shoot turned into a bit of a hike, and it wasn't ideal. After that shoot, this camera sat for a while. I was generally pretty dissatisfied with the experience of using the camera that day, an experience that up until this point I hadn't felt prior. There's a number of factors for this. Not using the camera probably had a factor in it, though I did take it out and work with it a little beforehand because it had sat prior to. But it felt clunky, more clunky than usual, especially compared to my LX, which is such a snappy camera. The rotary finder felt very disconnecting from the subjects. This hadn't been the case with other portrait sessions and couple shoots that I had done with this camera previously, though. While I could have considered investing in a waist level finder for the system, I was hesitant. And I was hesitant for a number of reasons. One such being that my trusty sidekick Pentax LX, at that point I had some worries that the electronics were failing. Thankfully it was some bad batteries. But I had my reasons not to trust electromechanical cameras at the time. Using the GS1 as it sits did not feel like the camera it once was to me. It simply felt incompatible with how I was shooting. Which is odd, as the camera shoots in aperture priority mode, the best mode, just like my Pentax LX. However, I wasn't ready to give up on the camera just yet. I took it with me on a trial run for a photo walk I was coordinating with a local shop. A cool, brisk October day, perfect sunset, best possible conditions, about a 2-mile walk. The camera performed admirably. The photos were sharp, they were well exposed. The experience still wasn't right. Something was off. Using it now, it still feels clunky. It doesn't have a certain smoothness that I'm looking for in my photography now. It is a camera that feels very intentional to use. And at the time when I was just barely dipping my toes in the water, well, maybe more diving headfirst into the pool of medium format, that was what I needed. A slow, intricate process. Now that I know how to economize a limited number of shots per roll, a higher density negative, I don't need that slow, methodical process. I need something I can trust to shoot quicker. While I do think the GS1 is capable of shooting in that manner, it does require some sacrifices that other cameras don't. The biggest one being size. I do love the Bronica GS-1. Really, I just don't think it's been given its fair shake in the film photography community and the larger conversation about medium format options. Ultimately, though, I no longer think it's the camera for me. I've outgrown it, to say the least. And because of that, my GS1 will be hitting the shelves. I found a camera that's more aligned with what I need in a medium format camera for my shooting in 2025 at least. But more on that at another time. If you're in the market, do not sleep on the Bronica GS1. It is an incredible camera. And for the price, you're really getting the best of what 6x7 has to offer in about as compact of a package as you can get, unless you're looking at rangefinders, and then, good luck buying a Mamiya 7. If you're considering an RB, though, and an RZ especially, or if you're like me and you're ready to take the first steps in the medium format, and the internet has convinced you that the only viable format is 6x7 because big negative is better picture, definitely take a look at the GS1. It is an incredible camera. But know that it might not be perfect forever. And it doesn't have to be. It's okay. A camera can teach you a lot. Spending time with a camera that's just different can help you grow as a photographer. Working with gear that might not be immediately compatible, that can teach you invaluable lessons about your photography. Finding out that gear is no longer compatible can teach you way more about where you're at as a photographer. I want to thank my Bronica for being that milestone camera for me. It was a milestone to shoot 120, 6x7, massive negatives for the first time. And it was a milestone to realize this isn't the right camera for me. To outgrow a camera is kind of a cool phenomenon. To find a camera that can break through the noise. As a photographer, to break through the noise, the endless gear debates, and find a camera that works for you is a feat all its own. So I challenge you to look through, dig deeper. Don't get bogged down by best camera ever, or best medium format, or best 6x7, or best whatever. It doesn't matter. Find a camera that works for you and use it until it no longer works for you. And then look and say, this camera is no longer compatible, X, Y, and Z reasons. And try something different. Try a different lens. Try a different focal lengths. Try everything you can. The most important part is that you're getting out and shooting. And on that note, I will see you all next time. All right. Let the credits scroll. I'm gonna put fucking credits in this thing. Who knows? Um, I don't know if this is gonna be the first video I post, but I feel compelled to put a little anecdote at the end. As if you're seeing this video, you're either seeing it for one of two reasons, maybe three. One, you stumbled across it because you're deep in the rabbit hole shopping for cameras, and if that's the case, what's up? Welcome. We're the same kind of weird. I would subscribe because I'll probably talk more about cameras going forward. Or you're subscribed to me, or you're subscribed to me prior to posting this. And if that's the case, then you're in one of two camps. Either you subscribed when I did computer accessory reviews in 2013. You're a real one for that. Or we were friends in high school. If the first one's the case, that Razer Ouroboros mouse that I unboxed in 2013 is still going strong. Definitely recommend. High school friends, what's up? It's probably been a minute. I do shit like this now. Probably haven't said hi in a while, so I'm going to say hi now. It's good to hear from you. I'm assuming you're talking back to the video. Great conversation. Let's chat. Let's pick it. But this might be the first video I post. Assuming all goes well, hopefully I'll have a series of videos already scheduled to be uploaded. And yeah, I don't plan on doing much in terms of gear videos. I'm hoping to lean more into the composition and creation of photos or process. Gear is just an easy avenue to talk about. So I don't mean to contribute to the noise aforementioned, but sometimes it's important to know how tools affect the work. But in order to keep things short, I'm going to wrap it up here. I will see you all next time. Have a good one.